On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we have some very interesting updates from Alex Kurtzman about the future of Star Trek. We have a few little bits that we missed from the Daystrom Institute and the Fleet Museum, and we answer your feedback for Picard 3x06 right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends do what they've done their whole lives, chat about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
Dave, how are you, my friend?
I am here.
Yeah.
That's about as good as I could hope for.
As much gusto as you can give it today?
Yeah.
I dig it.
I tweeted the other day, like, if it wasn't for shrinking Ted Lasso in Picard Season 3, I would be very pro-extinction level meteor hitting the Earth. And Bill Lawrence liked the tweet, so I was happy with that. Like,
wait, who's Bill Lawrence?
The creator, showrunner of Scrubs, Ted Lasso, and Shrinking.
Oh, wow. I didn't know Shrinking and Ted Lasso were the same guy. That makes sense.
Yep.
That's funny. I just said... You know, this show has a very similar mix of comedy and heart to Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
And Paige gave me the side eye. Like, I was
wrong. Oh, no. Shrinking was literally created by Bill Lawrence, Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent on Ted Lasso, and Jason Segel.
Yep. See? I was right. I'm shadow boxing. Let's do this.
All right, so...
you tell me there's good news, or interesting news.
There's
or
interesting news.
Some news. Give it to me.
And it's good to me. You know, there's been a lot of hubbub in the fandom, in certain sectors of the fandom, you know, saying like, oh, they're canceling Picard and Discovery. Trek is over. No. He did confirm Picard was always meant to be 3 seasons. He was doing this interview, Kurtzman was, with SFX magazine. And, you know, the idea was like, they asked about, you know, Picard was supposed to be 3 seasons, but could it continue in some form? He says, we talk about that all the time. Is there a movie version? Doing a movie is different. It's 2 hours, right? So it's different than doing 10. You know, anything is possible, truly. And then later in the interview, they were talking about carrying on the stories. And he said, by the way, even individual characters. I think we could absolutely continue to tell stories about individual characters that are set up on the show in other contexts. That's the beauty of having a universe now, is that in a perfect world, we're not just doing seasons of television, we're doing event series, mini-series, we're doing single events that could be 2-3 hours long. I think that we are at a place now where that's really possible. He was also asked about how at NYCC, this past time they had talked about doing, they hinted at a Janeway show. And he says, we have plans for new things. There's quite a few plans, and you'll hear about them soon. We will continue to expand the Star Trek universe, absolutely. And in regards to Section 31, and Michelle Yeoh says, I could tell you that we're still very excited about Section 31, and that's all I will say. So apparently they're still planning that. And it should be noted that April 5th is First Contact Day, and they usually do release some kind of news.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. So
we should plan to be ready to hop on a cast.
We should.
Yeah.
But we won't.
Nope, we don't plan well.
He'll be like midnight, and you'll be like, crap, you want to cast?
Mm-hmm, exactly. He'll be like, hey, did you hear about this? I was like, we should podcast, probably.
Like, I default to just, like, texting or calling, like in the old days. Like, I hook up my old landline.
Yep, exactly.
Call your mom's old house, and no one picks up.
Yep, and just so that people know, on the video, he used a rotary phone.
Yeah, I did, with my finger.
Yep, in the air. Okay, so those sounds like good things that he's saying, and there are things we've been talking about, you know, the flexibility and the cohesion that this universe has now is, like, cool and, like, in a different place than Star Trek's ever been. So, you know, we've talked a lot about the good and the bad of Star Trek being so insular and moving to its own streaming service, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I do think Paramount Plus has become a lot more legitimized in the last 2 years, 3 years, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are following it for things like those 2 Yellowstone spin-offs or whatever, you know, like
Yeah.
there are things happening on this channel other than that. You watch all the Big Brother stuff, right? Or something like that?
I do. I watch Big Brother, I watch The Challenge, which CBS has a bunch of that.
Okay, I talked to a lot of people that watch The Challenge, so okay. So, but still, like,
Yeah.
there are reasons people have this app now, so it's not as insular as it used to be. But still, we've talked about the pros and cons, and one of the big pros is that they can do whatever they want, you know?
Yeah.
And they can just make, like, he's talking about Picard movies or whatever. They could absolutely do, like, just a 2-hour movie, and it could be this level of production value. It wouldn't have to go higher, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and you know, I've seen a lot of, well, not a ton, but a few people on Twitter who seem to be like, well, a few years ago when they were talking about doing the SETI Alpha 5 miniseries, there was a lot of hubbub about like, well, we couldn't actually ever get it off the ground because it would cost too much to just do a limited series. But the thing that they're overlooking about that is that at this point, they have 25th century sets.
Exactly.
They could make it look like they can change the configuration a little bit and it's a different starship.
And they barely have to. I mean, you know, you just have the same class ship and like all the hallways work, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
absolutely.
They've got a lot of hallways at this point for the different shows. I wonder how many hallways they have.
Like 2 probably. So they can show someone going around the corner, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, even even if they get to that point where they're swapping around the hallways and stuff, but you also have things like we've seen in all these Star Trek shows forever where like you need a new alien world every week. Your like group of assets that you have sitting around where you can repurpose whatever you know, fuselage to be the new computer or whatever, like, and move around the set and make it look good is very possible in the old days. They used to do that a lot, and they'd be smart to continue to do stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, shoot. I mean, I think now that they've got so much Picard under their belt, and they've got Strange New Worlds as a big popular thing. They could do 23rd century or 25th century. They can pop back and do like late 24th century if they really wanted to. I think they're good. They've got. I think that's another reason that I don't think they're going to be doing a lot of, you know, that Jonathan Frakes said that he wouldn't hold his breath for more 32nd century stuff. And I think it's because of that. Like they just cost too much to keep creating new things like that.
Well, it's the cost and it's the return, and so like right now they're seeing the big difference in engagement when they have all these legacy characters on the screen. Definitely. And they can't do, like, those are expensive, so they have to, like, you know, measure out their they have to measure a man it out so that
no stop
so that they don't like overdo their budgets, but like you can have, you know, 1 or 2 of these legacy characters pop in and out of these shows, especially now that they all seem very involved. You know, they're all still involved in Starfleet, still involved in, you know, Worf knows about Section 31. We've talked about who's going to be on Section 31. Like, let Worf go to Section 31. You know, like, do this thing, man.
Yeah, and like Brent Spiner's excuse for why he shouldn't play the character anymore is gone.
Yeah, and he's got this very interesting version of himself that he's going to be able to explore. There's years of exploration of, like, him learning to live with himself, you know, learning to live with all the versions of himself in his head. Like, that's such a fun arc, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I'm down. And I'm excited that it seems like Michelle Yeoh is still interested in doing all this. Despite her Oscar.
I guess so. Well, I thought it was suspicious the way he responded to that. They were like, well, what about Michelle Yeoh and Section 31? And he said, we're still very excited about Section 31. He didn't say...
That's true.
We're very excited to have Michelle Yeoh coming to do Section 31.
That's true.
So the way he answered that made me nervous.
It doesn't make me nervous. I'd be just as happy to not have her and have a Worf Section 31 show. Like, sure. I don't care. Like, it, you know...
I mean, I do. I care about her character. I like her. And I like her. She's the star of my favorite movie. But, like, I still want a section. We've wanted a Section 31 show for 30 years. That hasn't changed. 20 years, I guess, something like that.
I don't know. Part of me is like now kind of erring toward the Creed Bratton of it all with that.
Okay.
Creed Bratton was a weird character in The Office.
I know who Creed Bratton is. I just don't know what line you're talking about.
They kept having writers who wanted to write a Creed episode, and he kept saying no, because if you gave too much Creed, you would destroy the mystery around Creed, which is most of his appeal. So I kind of already feel like they're teetering into that as it is on Section 31.
Right. Sure. That's true, but to a point. Like, you could say that about anything. You could say that about the Klingons. You could say that about the Romulans. True. You could say that about, and maybe you do like a full on child.
Doo-doo.
Maybe you do a full on like Klingon show, and it makes us all just sick of the Klingons. And I mean, they did that a little bit with Discovery season 1, very Klingon focused, and I didn't get tired of Klingons. People got tired of the choices they made around the Klingons.
Yeah.
But that's another story. That's a whole other story.
Yeah. So my next thing is we have Easter eggs that we missed from 306. In the Daystrom facility, we saw Kirk's body. We mentioned that the genetically modified Tribble and the Genesis 2 device, which was apparently a second Genesis device that they created. What we missed, a Phaleron generator that was used to wipe out the Romulan Senate and Nemesis. Borg.
I think I saw that.
A Borg vinculum from a Voyager episode that connects all the drones. Every ship has one. One of the Aritan androids used to house the minds of the surviving Aritans from the original series episode Return to Tomorrow. The remains of the Borg Queen, like from First Contact, and just the head with like the spinal cord hanging.
Wow. How did we miss I need to see a good video breakdown of this.
Some of this is like super hard to see. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like I got all this from Trek Movie. And they had like the screenshots. Yeah. And it was like blurry, but then there was also a behind the scenes video that Paramount Plus released that had a bunch of stuff that was in that set on the displays and stuff. They also, on screen, was an extinct Daersay Civilization archives screen. That was like from the TNG episode Masks, where they put on the mask and it changed their personality and shit.
Right, yeah.
And they also had a probability device from DS9's Rivals. And that episode said that they destroyed all of those, but I guess Section 31 got one. And freaking self-sealing stem bolts.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so stupid. I love that.
Yep. Yeah, in that video they released, they did close-up displays for the self-sealing stem bolt. And they also showed the Catan probe from The Inner Light, a PUP probe from DS9's The Forsaken, Sporocystian life form from Caretaker. God. They also had the M5 Multitronic unit from the original series episode The Ultimate Computer that was designed by Richard Daystrom.
So a lot of that wasn't necessarily on screen, but it was it was on the set. That's so funny. The self-sealing stem bolts is hilarious. Yeah,
they just had a bunch of the stuff, and I'm not sure what actually made the cut. I'm sure it all got filmed at some point, them running around in there.
Yeah. Man, all right. Super fun.
Starfleet Museum. So we mentioned the obvious ones: Enterprise A, Voyager, Defiant, HMS Bounty. Here are others they had. This is the first. Oh my God, I'm excited about this, and I wondered. Enterprise NX-01 from Enterprise.
Nice.
But it is with the secondary hull that was it was designed by Doug Drexler, and it was going to be what it looked like in season 5. Because it doesn't have a secondary hull that hangs beneath the saucer section.
Right.
In the entire series. In season 5, they were going to add it, so it would have looked a lot more like the original series. And that version of the NX-01 in this episode had the secondary hull that Doug Drexler designed for season 5 before
that's
it got canceled.
Really cool.
They had the Kronos 1 the Katinga class Klingon ship from Star Trek 6. They had Picard's Stargazer. They had the Excelsior. We didn't talk about this. And I don't know why, because I love the original series aesthetic so much. They had that TOS Constitution class, like original style.
Yeah.
New Jersey ship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means for canon. I never know. Like, I'm just like accepting of the multiverse at this point. I don't know.
Oh man, it's all canon, baby.
Yeah. And Geordi's office had a number of little Federation ships and the Phoenix and stuff in the background. And also the TOS Federation logo. Like, old school shit, man. So
that's very cool.
I just love all that kind of stuff.
I love this NX-01 with the secondary hull. I'd never seen that before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
You know, Doug Drexler was heavily involved in Enterprise and also was the one who sort of retrofitted the old TOS sets to look more presentable in HD for the that 2-part Mirrorverse episode of Enterprise where they went and they had the Defiant from the original series in the Mirror Universe.
Yeah. I need to rewatch Enterprise. I need to rewatch everything because I'm just not much of a rewatcher. Like, I've seen everything, but like, I've
seen everything
every decade or so. I just don't rewatch like all the time. Like, I'm not a guy who throws it on in the background while I'm doing other things. There's just too many things to watch these days.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, I got to watch whatever the new thing is and get caught up.
I hear you.
But I really need to do another watch through like all of Star Trek. But it's so daunting at this point.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So much.
Sure is. You want to move to feedback?
Yeah, let's do it.
Stuart Little, he's everywhere. He's like Roy Kent.
Stuart
Little on YouTube says, I don't want a Worf and Rafi show. I want a Federation cop show. Justified in space. I don't know why that's there on YouTube instead of his normal. He also sent us an email, so I don't know what's happening. Sure. I don't know what's happening.
People tend to comment on YouTube when it's like a live, it's like a live tweeting situation. Like, they do it in the moment, you know. It's like I have something to say and I'm going to say it, you know.
Oh yeah, I don't comment on anything I listen to, so.
No, yeah. I hear that. Yeah, it's funny. Like, whenever we get a lot of comments, like we have been lately. Thank you guys very much. It makes me feel good about the show, and it makes me feel like there's people out there who care and are engaged, because I am a person who cares and engages with a lot of podcasts, and I never write in. So I always assume if there's people writing in, there's a lot more people who are not writing in, you know?
Yeah.
So it just makes me feel nice, and I'm glad we got some people writing in.
I love it. I love getting feedback.
Yeah, dude.
Nerdy-tastic on Twitter
Nerdy-tastic
says, I would love a Star Trek cop show. I want it to be a buddy cop show with a Klingon and a Vulcan. The snarky coroner is a Ferengi. Garrick can make an appearance, because why the hell not?
I love it. The snarky coroner is this Ferengi. That's really good. Yeah. Klingon and Klingon. We haven't seen enough Klingons and Vulcans just like being crew members side by side.
Yeah.
Need more of that.
I also think it would be fun to have a Romulan and a Vulcan.
Yeah, for sure. They're similarly opposites in many ways.
Or they have the Klingon and the Vulcan, but then there's another like couple of cops who are partners who is a Romulan and a Vulcan, and they're just sort of like saccharine, like everyone hates them because they complement each other so well. Like, where I lack logic, he makes up for it. And where he lacks emotion, I make up for it. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, we hate them. Stupid cousins. I told Nerdy Tasca I felt like the snarky coroner should be a Bolian, an old elderly Bolian who has an inexplicable southern accent.
I like any inexplicable southern accent, which Vadic kind of has. Vadic has kind of a southern thing going, I feel like.
She has just a weird accent, and I don't know what to do with it.
It reminds me of like shows where they do Southern accents. It doesn't remind me of a real Southern accent, I guess, but it reminds me of shows where people are trying to be a little Southern.
Yeah.
I don't know what that accent is.
Yep, I don't know. I don't know what I'd call that. Timothy Castillo says, Vatic, now that's a pickle. Hey, fellas, peace and long life.
Peace and long life.
And longer emails. Edited down from a completely ridiculous length. I like this episode a lot. Any hoots, I couldn't help thinking through most of the episode that this should have been what the first season was. But then at the end, they started pulling in the series' previous developments as part of the story. So the show is making good use of the lore. Tee-hee-hee.
You gotta use every part of the lore.
I don't know. I imagine like an old Asian woman in a TikTok like stripping the skin off and boiling it off of lore.
Oh.
Use every part of the lore.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot that Starfleet gave the founders the illness. Just another dark thread from the rich tapestry of DS9. Loved seeing Geordi again. Loved seeing Geordi and Data together again. Yeah. And yeah, even Jean-Luc brought it up. He's died twice already. Stu, relax. I can hear you now. It's cool. Okay, because we get Data and Geordi together, and that is better than Data pleading for his death while being sectioned off from all the rest of the universe. Yes, I'm on board. It's a rehash of a rehash, but I'm cool with it, for now at least. We'll see what happens. The show has done this crazy thing all season long where an episode sets up a trope, and we're all like, dude, show, don't do that, it's weak. And the next episode the show is like, whoa, bruh, chill, it's totally cool. And then we're all like, heh, dude, wicked. So I'm sold for now. This is a really hard email to read. All I want is a good ending, Metalis, and I agree with Stu on this. Don't go back to Metalis. The planet Metalis.
He keeps saying Stu. Is he referring to you?
I don't know, man. I think he's just saying he agrees with Stu.
Oh, okay. Because a couple... gotcha. I thought a couple of things. Yeah. I thought he might be thinking of me or you when he said them, because I was the one complaining about. You were the one complaining about going back to Metalis, no, I guess Stu may have said that.
Stu has too.
Okay.
When the Raven showed up, I was immediately thinking Data from when he had started having dreams. Loved the pulls, the shots of Riker and Data from Encounter at Farpoint hit me right in the feels. 7 telling Jack about Voyager was a great scene. It made me wonder if she was going to try to tap into one of her past connections. I love that so much of the cast, old and new both, all of them are together and interacting with each other. Don't split the party, guys. Oh crap, Riker. Triples are creepy, man.
I kind of feel the same way about Riker. I don't like that he's not with them anymore. I really was liking the vibe of having the group together, and something that this show's done really well that I've been complaining about on Discovery is that like Discovery makes the entire season one big episode. Yeah. And when that happens, something like this, someone getting kidnapped, you're like, well, I guess that's a season-long arc. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that's not the case here. But we only have a few episodes left, so it's very possible he'll be separated from the party for a significant amount of what we have left, which is a bummer.
Yeah, maybe. I am unwilling to make any assumptions at this point. I did it at the beginning of the season, and it has fooled me every time. So I'm just holding on to my ass.
I'm all over the assumptions, man. I don't care how much of an ass I become.
Favorite quote of the episode: okay, let's reset our phasers. I've bought into the spin-off show Star Trek Family Ties, complete with soft lens, 80s song and family pictures in the intro. Picard's Shakespeare and Lwaxana's feminine wiles probably aren't going to be able to get Riker and Troy out of this jam. What are the changelings doing with Picard's body? I have no solid theories. Data report.
Solid theories?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it a spoiler to mention that if they showed a clip for the next episode on the Ready Room, Is it a spoiler to talk about that?
I haven't seen it, but I guess with mentioning, hey, I'm going to talk about a thing they showed on the Ready Room, I think we're okay.
Okay. So the clip they showed was Vadic talking to the face again.
Mm-hmm.
And the face basically altered Vadic's ability to hold form and referred to the changelings as your kind instead of our kind. So that's a whole lot more in the way of being like, hey, this boss of Vadic's is not a changeling.
Or it's further evidence that this group that Vadic's with is a group of changelings that's been split off.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
From the main changelings.
But like the way that he was talking, it kind of seemed like it was against changeling. Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, that could be the 8472 connection.
It could be. I don't know. I did notice that like there was a weird shadow over Picard's dead body that looked like where the implants would have gone for the Borg when he was Locutus. So that's weird. Maybe a bit of foreshadowing. Or forehead shadowing.
Yeah, forehead shadowing at least. Or maybe he's always had marks there, but he's always like makeuped over them.
Yeah, maybe there's like shit underneath after the
extractions of all the
extractions.
Things, and he's just been covering them up all these years.
Yeah, maybe. Or just his flesh is rotting and the metal underneath is coming through.
Oh, yeah. That's gross.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Zombie Picard. That's exactly what we've all been asking for.
I love it asking for.
The series to end with zombie Picard versus robot Picard.
Yep. That sounds like the perfect way to end it.
It sounds so ridiculous. Like, that sounds like one of those, they had like Cowboys versus Aliens a few years ago. Like, hey, we're taking seriously a concept that's kind of silly, right? We're going to make a movie about it. It's like make Robots versus Zombies is very similarly silly.
Yeah.
But like, maybe we get Picard Robots versus Zombies. I'm in, man.
I'm down.
Please make the finale called Robots versus Zombies, or some like, or that just in Latin, and and nobody would notice.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'd be okay. Matthew Davis writes in, says, Matt and Dave, if this is fan service, it's the best damn fan service I've seen from a franchise in a while. Mm-hmm. We got it all. Favorite old starships we haven't seen in a while, callbacks to past adversaries, and the family reunion continues to grow. Maybe it's because I watched the episode on my phone at lunch Thursday, but I had a hard time making out a couple of things in Daystrom. Well, I hope we helped you out with that on this episode. When I saw the one chamber say Captain USS Enterprise, I just assumed it was Pike's body. I found out later reading about the Easter eggs that it was Kirk. Kind of ghoulish, but it makes sense that Section 31 might retrieve his body while salvaging the saucer section of the Enterprise D. His body might have clues about the Nexus after all that time he spent there. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a good point.
He didn't spend very long there, though.
Well, it's all relative.
Yeah, in our timeline he did, but not to him. So how long was his exposure really?
I don't think it matters.
Clearly would matter to Section 31. That's all I'm saying.
I heard what you said. Terry Metalis said about Pulaski. My thoughts went straight to a retcon. Maybe the Pulaski we saw all those years ago was a changeling, and they've been in Starfleet longer than we realized. Remember that season 1 episode conspiracy? That was left open-ended. Yeah, we've heard about that one.
I think I've heard that mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah. By the way, Terry Metalis did like straighten it out and say like he was not saying that she looks like a monster. He was saying, a changeling is she may have been a change. It was a joke about changelings.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
But then the way you were saying people were mad about it, I was like, why are they mad? I don't even get it exactly.
Yeah. Great to see Geordi again. Great dynamic between him and his daughters. A great combination of pride and worry. He also gets the best line of the episode. Only you could turn fatherhood into an intergalactic incident. Yeah, that tends to be par for the course for quite a few Enterprise captains. Remember Kirk's comments about Klingons and undiscovered country? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I've never trusted Klingons, and I never will. I can never forgive them for the death of my boy.
Yeah.
I recite it every morning when I wake up.
Well read, sir. Well read.
And Shaw going all fanboy over Geordi was great. Big departure from his reactions to Picard and Riker. Yeah, I really loved that, too.
Mm-hmm. He's an engineer. No?
Yeah, oh, I know.
Love it.
Misfit Scully on Twitter says, wow, I don't really know what to say about episode 6 of season 3 of Picard. So many emotions. Took me longer to watch as I had to keep freezing the picture to read graphics on various screens. What an episode.
Me too.
Dude, I feel that.
I tried to catch everything in Daystrom on first watch, but
yeah,
still couldn't see it all.
Yeah. Oh gosh. John Plays What says, I think the entire premise of your theory of a species 8472 is unlikely and nonsense.
Fair enough. I think no notes.
However, it does make me wonder why Jack was seemingly not the focus of the changelings until recently. He went to school and grew up seemingly without the changelings being after him. So if species 8472 and the changelings have started colluding/breeding to make changeling/8472 hybrids, which gives these new changelings the ability to retain shape after death, could it be that Picard, having been part of the Borg collective, had vestiges of Borg in his body that the changelings and species 8472 wanted/needed in order to be able to communicate effectively through the changelings' Great Link and species 8472 telepathy?
So they need Borg technology that was somehow passed on to Jack? I mean,
not sure.
There is, the Borg speak telepathically, but apparently Locutus was different, right? So they could justify that.
He was different in some way.
Locutus, they said the Borg Queen talks about how she wanted an equal and stuff. Like she wanted some like a partner or all sort of stuff in First Contact. I forget the word she uses. But there's sort of this idea that Locutus wasn't just a Borg; he had a name, So maybe the Borg were speaking to him differently. And maybe that would be through a different type of device. Also, I don't know why I didn't think about this, but if 8472 is trying to connect with the changelings and trying to get into our universe, maybe that's what Jurati Queen is stopping.
Maybe.
Maybe we'll finally go back to that. What the heck? How are we 6 episodes into this show and we still haven't mentioned the fact that last season ended on a cliffhanger?
Yeah. John Plays What says, now that Picard is biopositronic, his body wouldn't have those Borg vestiges. However, would Jack have anything between his progeny, or being his progeny? Would he have anything between his prodigy? Would Jack have anything being his progeny? Yeah, I mean, he might. That the topic has been broached even on this show.
Yes, it has.
Possibly.
Oh man, this is fun. Star Trek's just so deep. There's just so many ways to talk about it. So many theories to brew on.
Yeah.
It's so deep. It's just, and then not to mention, you think about okay, maybe it's a telepathic species. All right. And so then you start going how there can't be too many. We do the MCU cast and we're always theory crafting and we're well, it'd have to be somebody telepathic, and then we've got 4 options. And Star Trek, it's it'd have to be someone telepathic. There's 700 alien species in the Star Trek canon that are telepathic. Also, these characters who were given telepathy by other means. It's just insane canon, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. I do think that they'll play into Borg stuff. I think, even, look, in Daystrom, I assume Well, it looked like B4's head, and it looked like they had Lore's body, and it looked like they had the Golem body that all of the people are in now with Data, Lore,
Right.
Law, etc. I mean, the last time we saw Lore, it was in Descent when he was hooked up with the freaking Borg.
True.
If they're grabbing Picard's body, he might have Borg implants.
Well,
I'm still not backing down from my Species 8472, especially if they're going more into Borg shit, because Species 8472 was tied very deeply in with Borg, and are tied enough into shape-shifting and changeling shit that I could be like, you know what? I could see it. I could see it happening.
What if 8472 learned the lesson from their Borg encounters that, like, they need to be just as, like, all-consuming as the Borg are, and they're, like, taking over the changelings or something to that effect? Like, the changelings are kind of, like, doing whatever they can do, but they're, like, under oppression of 8472 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're maybe trying to expand it, sort of like the Dominion, but, like, using their shape-shifting abilities to sort of start, like, infiltrating and owning the entire galaxy instead of just sitting on the sidelines, hanging out in their own fluidic space.
Yeah, I am confused about the nature of changelings because they literally made Odo into a solid with organs.
Yeah.
They have that ability, but like is it just that like if they go that way they can never go back?
Well, no, but he does go back.
Well, apparently they can now, but even when they're taking the organs apart, they start like reverting to their original form.
Well, yeah. Well, in the past, if they lose anything off their bodies, they would just become goo again. I think the thing with Odo was just supposed to be a special kind of like curse or magic, technology that's indistinguishable from magic that they used on him. I don't think it was like an ability a changeling has. I think it was somehow the Link used either some power they have or some technology they have to like turn him into a solid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not willing to say magic. Like, they have to have some kind of a.
I said magic as it is indistinguishable from because it's technology that's indistinguishable from magic to us.
I know. I'm just like trying to work it all out, like canonically, based on what we've seen. But
yeah,
I guess we'll find out soon enough. Stuart Little sends us an email titled, "Where was the faith of the heart reprised, damn it?"
Good point. Very good point.
Hey guys. Yeah, David, I'm gonna need you to stop sexualizing so much stuff. Nope.
I'm with Stu on this one.
If you don't, I'll rewire your psyche so you get a boner every time you see a fire hydrant. Too late. Anyway, on to the episode. The way those ships came out of warp relative to the transponders, they would have crashed right into the Titan if it had actually been there. I don't think so. They knew what was coming up. They knew. We've seen it a million times on Star Trek. They're warping to the thing and they're like, oh no, I think it seemed a little wonky. Holy shit, not only did Jack come clean about what he was going through after just one episode, but they actually explained what's going on with him. Don't they know you're supposed to stretch this thing out to an interminable long degree? Mystery box. That said, I don't know how having a degenerative neurological condition gives you Jason Bourne type killing abilities, right?
Yeah.
It's funny to think that more time has passed in universe since All Good Things, the supposed end of the TNG character stories, than the whole run of the show lasted. In fact, Jack wasn't even conceived until after the events of Nemesis.
Wow.
I know, man. They was getting it on with their walkers. Daystrom security may be a little overhyped if the AI doesn't immediately act on some isolinear chips being removed from a direct access point by unidentified visitors. It did act immediately when they removed those isolinear chips.
It did. Also, it was said in the show that one of the reasons Data didn't vaporize them or whatever was because like he recognized them. And it messed up his programming.
Mm-hmm. There really needs to be a story explaining how Section 31 went from being an autonomous, rogue agency that the Federation didn't officially even acknowledge because they did things that were against the core values of the organization, to a critical section of Starfleet intelligence in the time between DS9 and now. And yes, it's annoying that they're also basically Federation CIA and the TOS era now too, but one thing at a time. They could bring back Bashir, who's pissed off that it happened after all he did to try to bring them down. Well, if I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, I see what he's saying. In DS9, they weren't even sure that Section 31 existed. My assumption will be, and I think they say this on DS9, that they were at some point disbanded or disavowed, right? Like, wasn't that the thing? Like, Section 31 used to exist, and then it stopped existing, but then it really existed. And then through the actions of Julian, like, you find out it's existed all along, and there's all that stuff, and they infiltrate it. But now the question is, I guess since his infiltration, Worf would obviously know. He's the one who talked about it in this episode. He was talking about this being a Section 31 site, and he would know about it because he's Julian's friend. He was there on the DS9 when all that was going on. So, yeah, he was probably in those briefing rooms talking about it and stuff. I mean, not many people were, but he was probably one of the few. But even after that, has it been publicized? Do we know? Like, maybe the reason it is in the Daystrom station is because they rounded up Section 31 and they put all their best toys in Daystrom station, to hide it, kind of like a Shield Hydra thing from Agents of Shield, when they're collecting all of Hydra's goodies, trying to put them away. I don't know.
I mean, I think you could play with it a lot. Like, a lot of people might not know. I mean, you talk about Riker just knows about it. Oh, Riker's a captain in Starfleet, one of the most respected individuals in Starfleet. He's a legend. Of course he's going to know. He probably had a couple run-ins with Section 31 over the years.
Right. And it's been however many years since, it's been 20 years since, or more? I don't know how long it's been canon. It's been 20 years in the real world since Julian was uncovering all of that, so...
Yeah, something, or more than that, really.
Yeah.
About 25 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sheep-a-doop-a-doo. Okay, maybe Picard didn't just leave Kirk's body in an unmarked grave and didn't tell anyone about it. It's still kind of weird to reveal his body was being kept there, though, because it's not like Shatner's going to reprise the role, unless that's Chris Pine's Kirk somehow. I don't think they're going back to Shatner or Pine on this show. I mean,
I don't think on this show, but I could totally see them bringing back Shatner for reanimating him for one last weird adventure. I hear you.
I think he would want too much money. I'd honestly do.
Yeah, but he'd do it. He would do it. I mean, they'd pay him, but he'd do it.
Stu continues, quote, "You used to poke back. What happened to you? He banged your wife before dumping her and transferring to DS9, so felt no more razzing was necessary." The facial recognition system should have really also identified Will as Tom Riker too. Maybe. No, it just analyzed his face and said, "Nope, you don't have the fake sideburns." That's Will, all right.
Yeah, maybe so, man.
While I'm glad Geordi's issues are reasonable and he isn't being a dick just for the sake of drama, a small part of me wants him to be salty that Data, his supposed best friend, didn't ask him for help in Season 1. Do you know how many hologram dates he passed up to look after Spot? He can't be salty to Data. This Data doesn't know anything about what that other Data did.
Sure he does.
No, he doesn't have those memory engrams. That version of Data's dead.
No.
This version of Data is the version that came from B4.
Right. Who was loaded in from a later version of Data. From Nemesis Data.
But he hadn't spent all that time in, the system, wanting death. Stuck in the room. He was just... Oh, you're saying those. Sorry, I thought you were saying the ones about the dates or whatever. I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, he doesn't have the memories of sitting in darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay. The ships are all networked to each other after what just happened in the Prodigy season 17 finale. 17. That's dumb.
I like it. I like it.
Hey, you remember what Scotty said? The more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain.
Mm-hmm.
Stu continues, I forgot Moriarty was going to be in this for a hot minute, so his arrival was most enjoyable, albeit brief. You know, the Defiant has a cloaking device too, and more up-to-date hardware, which the mainly Starfleet cast of characters would be more familiar with using. Just saying. Yeah, we made that point, Stu. We made that point. Thank you, Stu. We know.
Why are you so salty at Stu? Just because he, admitted to being your other personality for so long.
It's not, man, I wish I was Stu. Make things a lot easier. I could just Control-Alt-Delete Dave.
Oh, gosh, Dave.
I just told you I was pro-extinction level meteor.
I know.
Where was I going? Okay, here we go. I know Jack was trying to compliment his dad, but he kind of inadvertently seemed to be saying Beverly wasn't wise or brave. Yeah, there was a lot of that where I was like, wait, Picard are those things? Wait, Beverly are those things too? I don't like your assessment of your parents, Jack. Stu says, oh, so this new data was just a way for Brent Spiner to play all those characters without having to change his costume or makeup. Smart. They stole Picard's body? The odds of Tom Hardy appearing as Shinzon 2 just went up. I hope not.
Honestly, though, if modern day Tom Hardy showed up as Shinzon 2, it'd be baller. You know, it'd be good.
It'd kind of be badass.
It'd be really badass, like freaking Mad Max Shinzon. Yeah, I'm in, man.
Or I was just thinking Bane from Dark Knight Rises, being like, "Oh, Picard, you think the darkness is your friend? I was born there.
Yeah, man.
Nurtured by it."
He literally was. And we really need to find the speech of him as Picard talking about the minds of Remus and the darkness there, and put him next to him talking about the darkness in Dark Knight Rises. That's pretty funny.
That is funny. Stu says, just to be clear, Deanna is a hostage being used to make Riker comply, right? Because the way that it was shot, it totally also works that they were revealing that she was Vadic's boss.
That's telepathy, man. I told you. Yeah. There's all these different telepathic species.
She's got to use her terrorist faction to force Starfleet to modify replicators so they can make real chocolate sundaes. Anyway, another good one, though I do hope we are actually kind of past the peak of remember this thing from the franchise's history now. Take care, Stu. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, I don't know that they could go any higher than they did with this episode. Getting all the characters back, also Geordi, Deanna, and Data lore before Lol, all in the same episode. Mm-hmm. Come back, and they showed James T. Kirk's final resting place. It just feels like a lot of things for one episode. I don't think they can go higher than this. I agree. I hope that has peaked, and now we're gonna get to finish the story.
I'm hoping that was the fangasm, and that we can just kind of settle into, a nice, calming finale that doesn't quite make us, so distracted by all the fan shit. I just want a good story for the rest of it.
Yeah, I'd really like to get focused on the characters. I'd really like a good ending if they're going to end, and I feel like, some of them are, probably. I would like them to end some of these stories well. They tried to end Data's story in season 1, and I hated it. And so many times we've hated it when they've tried to end these character stories. I would really like for them to do a good job. And it seems like they're on the right track. Like they know what they're doing. The good hands are on the wheels. We just got to see what they do, man.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Terry Matalas saw that first season because he wasn't involved, I don't think. But I think he saw it and went, no, Data wouldn't go out like that. Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Brent, I've got an idea.
It really, there are definitely some powerful moments in that season 1 appearance, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't work like thematically for his character for me. Okay. Any other? Is that all the feedback?
That's it. That's everything.
All right. Well, guys, we will be back very, very soon. Just a couple of days with more Star Trek Picard. I am really, really excited. This was 5 or 6?
6.
So we got 4 more. 4 more. I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, I like it a lot, but I don't like that we only have 4 more.
Yeah, I feel sad, but hopeful.
Yeah, me too. Maybe it'll be a great wrap up. I'm really hopeful.
Maybe I won't ever watch Star Trek ever again after this. Maybe it'll be the best thing ever. And I was just like, nope, I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
But to do that, they'd have to get Shatner back.
What is your obsession with Shatner?
Come on, man. It's the last Star Trek thing you ever watch. You wouldn't want one last time, the 2 captains together on the bridge this time?
No. I don't want Shatner back ever.
Janeway and Sisko.
No.
They all beam in at the last second.
No, that is fan wake. That is total fan wake now.
Yeah, for sure, man. You're telling me that I wasn't being ridiculous, like I was trying to present a legitimate idea.
Weren't you, Matt? I noticed, I recognized that twinkle in your eye. You thought that was a good idea until I was like, that's horseshit.
Don't turn my making fun of you back around on me.
Come on,
Pretend
man.
I was serious.
We've known each other too many years. Don't try to fake it for all these people out here listening.
Don't try to gain credibility as the one who's right by claiming all the years we've known each other. We have known each other a long time, Dave. I know you to be a liar.
Oh, I could say the same, my friend. I could say exactly the same.
I know.
And mean it with every fiber of my bitter being.
I know you could, but the people have seen us. They've seen us laid bare on this podcast, and they just know it rings true coming from me.
Yeah, we all know you're a liar. Everybody knows you're a liar, Matt.
We're trapped in one of those puzzles where one of us always lies and one of us always tells the truth.
But you'll never know which one it is.
All right. Joel Untrue.
Live long, you liar.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.